I'm Alynn Naylor, and this is Before It Made Sense.
What's up, everybody? Today we have Alynn Naylor with us, a singer, songwriter, creative entrepreneur who's been building for years before most people ever saw it in the public. Her work moves through music, storytelling, artist development, and a lot of behind-the-scenes realities that people don't usually talk about. For her, her journey is likely years before the visibility, before the recognition, and the work it takes to build something real, before the outside world really gets a chance to catch up. So today, let's get a chance to catch up with Alynn Naylor and talk about the journey before it made sense. Welcome, Alynn. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
For anyone discovering you for the first time, how would you describe who you are and what you're building right now?
Yeah, I'm in a wildly different place than I've been in my career over just the last year. So I think anyone sort of stumbling on my work right now, they're going to see the visible side of me. They're going to see my music with my name stamped on it. They're going to see my fresh attempts at branding, my fresh attempts at creating a social media presence, marketing myself, which is a wildly different place than I have been in most of my career. So hopefully what they see is a singer-songwriter building a career under their own name. What they're not going to see is the 15 years before that where I was building other people's career for them. So different anxieties, probably. They're definitely going to see, hopefully, if I'm doing it right, they're going to see the things that I don't get right. And hopefully they're going to see the things that I do get right and the things that really resonate. And hopefully they're brave enough to tell me. Because for me, building a brand is as much about building a community and building a place where people get seen in the art as much as it is just putting a song out there.
Yeah. Like, you've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes for so long. What inspired you to make that switch now? And I'm sure you get to ask that question a bunch of times.
You know, funny enough, people around me don't ask that question a lot. And I think it's because the people who know my work, a lot of the times ghostwriting, people have no idea who you've written for or what collaborations you've been a part of, which is kind of a gift. But I think people who do know my art kind of knew eventually she was going to need a challenge. So I think the real answer is I got a lot of peer pressure and I finally couldn't say no anymore. A lot of people were calling me a wuss and a lot of people were saying, hey, you got to walk the walk a little bit more than maybe you have in the last 10 years. Certainly the behind the scenes work came, in truth, because I was in music very young. I had to. Art for me was survival. It wasn't something I got in because I was passionate about it. My father was a musician and he passed away literally on my 18th birthday. So I had to figure out a way to pay rent. And the only way I knew how to pay rent was play guitar and get in front of people. And it worked. But when you're an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid and you're grief-stricken, you're going to be making some really bad decisions. So while it was paying my bills, it wasn't a really good lifestyle choice for me. So I was just very fortunate that I had some really great mentors early in my career who encouraged me to stay off the road, encouraged me to become a songwriter, encouraged me to sell my work to other people so that I could get my head and my life right before I worried about all of the pressure that comes with being visible myself. Ultimately, that was a gift that I can never repay them for. But I think eventually sort of everybody knew at some point she's going to need to push herself back out there. And so it was really just mentors saying, okay, it's time. You've got the work. You know what you're doing. Your head is in the right place. Let's see what new challenges come of this. Let's see what new scary is out there. You've conquered the rest of the scary. So let's do something new.
For those first gigs, was there anything that you didn't realize was going to be so important when you were starting and getting back into it? But now it's kind of full circle moment.
It wasn't even the gigs. I'll be honest with you. My biggest hang up was social media. I feel very comfortable in small rooms. I feel very comfortable when I can have a one-on-one with people. I'm one of those people that I know if I can get you in a room and I know if I can tell you my story and I know if you know the story behind the song, even if it's not your jam, there's going to be something in there for you. The social media part was way, way scarier. The idea of branding a song that comes from a really deep, scary place, or the idea of creating hooks and all of that silly jargon was not just intimidating, but I just hated it. And the real answer is that it wasn't that I hated it. It was that I was just afraid. And I was afraid of the comments and how I was going to react. I was afraid of how my nervous system was going to process that level of visibility without that level of contact and true intimacy, that 3-second scroll. And I really didn't like the idea of being flattened. Social media, in order to be successful, initially, you have to sort of flatten yourself to be able to get picked up by an algorithm. And that terrified me. So to answer your question, that was sort of the full circle of being 18 again and going, oh gosh, but I'm punk. I'm not going to go play that club. Or I'm punk. I'm not going to do that cover. So there was a little bit of that, ooh, that little 18-year-old punk is still in there and she just doesn't want to do this. Yeah, for sure.
It's interesting. A lot of people look when they determine success. It's usually the numbers, the visibility, the now more people hear me, more people can consume what I'm doing. What does success mean for you now? If it's not that.
I love that question. It's literally the thing I talk about the most to artists that I'm working with, people that I'm songwriting with, people that I'm mentoring. And it's the conversation I have internally with myself sometimes every day when things emotionally don't feel smooth. I think you have to define success for yourself. And I think you have to be so clear what that looks like before you hit go on anything. Because if success looks to you and you're not going to be happy until you're selling out stadiums, then that is what success needs to look like for you. But if you don't know what it looks like, then you can't create a plan. And if you don't have a plan, you are going to feel like a failure. If your goal is to sell out stadiums, you've got to have step one. I got to be able to sell out the 30-seat theater, right? And you've got to build your strategy up to that point. You have to know what your goalposts are. So I think one, you have to define it for yourself. It has to be clear, written down like a business plan. And if you don't know how to do that, my God, go to your community college and take a business class. Otherwise, this industry, a creative industry, will destroy you if you don't have that just basic skill set of being able to create a smart plan on how to measure what success looks like. And then I also think defining it for yourself and having the right people around you. I just had a conversation yesterday with another musician where we were talking about, I think where so many musicians in particular get it wrong is not having the right voices around you when things are hard, especially if you have a lot of sort of self-sabotagey people around you, if you have people that haven't done, at the risk of sounding like one of those Instagram memes, don't take advice from people who've never been where you want to be. I think as silly and cliched as that is, especially for creatives, that's so true. You cannot be successful if when you're having a moment of doubt, you call someone who reinforces your doubt. You need somebody who understands what your plan is and who will back your version of success, not theirs, that won't project on you, that will just listen to you and go, yeah, but you know what? You are exactly where you need to be because you told me last week that you were going to do the X, Y, and Z, and you did X, Y, and Z. Now let it breathe. So yeah, for me, success is definitely not visibility. Success is a song finding the right audience. My answer at the age of 25 would have been wildly different. But I also think that's why Alynn at 25 wasn't ready for visibility. I didn't have the maturity to really define success for myself. I was looking for outside validation, if that makes sense.
Yes. Support system's huge. I don't think enough people talk about it. Having the right people there, especially in an industry where there's no guidelines or no real, you should do this, you should do that.
Yeah. I think anything that's entrepreneurial, right? Like opening a restaurant is sometimes one of the hardest things I've ever seen peers go through. And if you guys don't have good sounding boards when you're opening a restaurant, like I can't, like that's so overwhelming and there's so many moving pieces. So I think if you don't have the right network around you, you're going to fall flat on your face for sure.
Yeah. And bringing it back to what you said about finding the right audience for your song finds the right audience. That usually means that you're writing it with a specific intention and it's coming from a place of honesty for yourself. Writing a song or when you're listening to music, what makes a song? What makes it sound? What makes anything honest to you?
Oh, God, that's such a good question. I don't know that I've ever thought about it that way. I think for me, I can tell when something is sincere. I couldn't necessarily tell you why I think it's sincere, but I think anybody can throw on a pair of headphones, no matter what the genre is, and you hear Bob Dylan or you hear Kendrick Lamar, and you know this is real, this is honest, this is sincere, this is an artist, irrespective of whether you actually are seizing onto the words or the world that this person is creating. So I think for me, when I'm creating something, it just has to be unfiltered. So if I go through multiple rounds of drafts, I shelve it because the minute I'm redrafting something, I'm filtering. So maybe the idea just needs to generate a little bit more. I haven't gotten enough clarity on it, but the less filters it goes through, I think the more sincere and the more it will resonate. I also think, particularly for creatives, Rick Rubin since he wrote his book, he's kind of been all over the place talking about this, but I think he's absolutely right. If you are writing for an audience, you're already dead in the water. Write for you. Write the song, paint the painting, write the book for you. None of us are experiencing life in a bubble. No matter how unique our own individual experiences are, I think psychologically, metaphysically, however you want to look at it, we're all operating with the same operating system. Somebody needs to hear what you have to say. No matter how trivial you think it is, somebody's going to see a reflection. That's how we experience the world, is through the reflection of somebody else. So just be honest to yourself and your song will find somebody. Even if a song only gets 5 streams, that means 5 people listened to that song and stayed with it until it ended. There's value there. Even for these tiny artists that think they've never had success or that have 100 followers on Instagram, like that's successful. That's 100 people that saw what you were putting out in the world and thought, I want to be a part of this. That's pretty cool.
Especially in the day with numbers, everyone cares about the big numbers, but you have 1,000 people that genuinely love your art, enjoy the craft. That means more than 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 people that just scroll over your content.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. And there's also the reverse of that too. I've gotten, since I've kind of become more visible and I've started to have these conversations with other artists that I used to just have through my artists, booking shows with people and having conversations about how we're going to promote the show. And I'll have other artists say, well, we should do a skit and we should do this to promote the thing. And I'm just like, hey, that would work for you. No judgment, but that's just not my jam. And everyone's going to know that I'm wildly uncomfortable. So that's just, I'm not going to do that. And the response is always, well, but it got 7,000 views. But did you sell 7,000 tickets? Like, what do you mean? Like, who cares? Like, tell me how that translated for your art. I mean, just because somebody looked at it doesn't mean that it's valuable. And I think especially for music creators, social media can get really tricky because I think you do inherently get a little hooked on the dopamine of there's all these people looking at me. But I think, again, if you define success for yourself, in theory, you should not fall down that rabbit hole of a lot of people are looking at me, but is it translating to people connecting with my art? So there's 2 sides of that for sure.
I can definitely tell you do a lot of work with people who come in rosy-eyed, ready to tackle the world with their preconceived notions. And it's almost like you have to bring them into reality. Like, what's something that independent artists or up-and-coming artists misunderstand about building their career?
I think the number one thing people get sick of me talking about absolutely is just basic business strategy. Business 101. Go to your local used bookstore and buy an outdated copy, I don't care, of Business for Dummies. If you don't know just basic accounting, if you don't know just really basic strategy, if you don't know how to interview somebody, like what you can and cannot ask legally, maybe more importantly, if you don't know how to fire somebody, you might not be in the right business, because when you are any sort of creative entrepreneur, you are a business owner. You can't build if you don't know even what a foundation looks like. You don't have to have an MBA. You don't have to go have a 9-to-5 where you've done all of these things in person, but you have to just have a basic understanding and you have to be comfortable with it, right? Like, I mean, when I was 18, I certainly wasn't comfortable with the fact that, oh, now I'm a business owner. That was very anti-music. Now I'm the man, I don't want to. What do you mean? I don't want to be like Elon Musk. Well, no, but you want to be able to build your vision, and you have to have some skills inherently to be able to protect your vision, and that's worth investing in. So go take the business class, find a great mentor, and not a songwriting mentor. If you're already into this because you're an artist, trust that. Stop taking songwriting classes. Stop taking guitar lessons. You probably already know what you need to know. Go take a business class. Go sit in a lecture. Listen to podcasts that have nothing to do with music and have everything to do with building businesses. You probably only need it for a year. You don't need to know how to build all of these other things, but you definitely need to have that basic skill set. And if you don't, like I said, you will fall flat on your face.
You just can't speak on that enough.
No, I know. And they don't listen, but I'm going to keep talking.
And it sucks too, because you hear all the horror stories of like, oh, I've gotten into the industry and this happened to me and that happened to my friend. But when you come in with the business, it's harder for someone to misdirect you, because at the end of the day, there's millions of creators or people that we've seen that take an approach that's inauthentic. But once you know what your goal is and who you are, at least general guidelines, I think that's what makes all the artists flourish.
For sure. Somebody said to me the other day, so I'm not going to take credit for it. I can't remember exactly who. I think it was my producer, but we were sort of talking about how I know some artists came out really hot out of the gate. They just hit right. They had the right people behind them and they built audiences really quickly, but it was an inauthentic audience. So they lost them. There's a million ways to make money in this business, but if it's not coming from a place of sincerity and truth to you, something that you're comfortable in, if it's not skin you're comfortable living in, then why? I mean, so you can pay your rent for a year? No, honey, I want to pay off my $1 million house. So don't think short term. If this is what you want to do for a living, then by God, build it that way.
It's interesting. My mind is not going in two places. The side of it is like, okay, I'm inspired to do art and I have this song inside of me and I'm going to put it out there. And then the other side of me is, okay, this is a discipline that I have to now take on and like perfect my craft in. Where do you find yourself in that balance when you're making your art?
To me, they're the same thing. I mean, I have wild ADD. I don't know if you probably could tell. So for me, creative time is scheduled and protected. If it wasn't for an Outlook calendar, I'd be dead, right? Like I would forget to drink water. Time with collaborators is scheduled. Time with other songwriters is scheduled and protected, right? The scheduling protects the discipline. Time with my accounting books is protected. So I think it's a little bit organization. But what I will also say, I think musicians often get it wrong. I can't speak to other creators. I don't know how painters develop their craft, but I think musicians sometimes spend too much time worrying about guitar riffs. If you're already making your living playing guitar, you probably don't need to spend a lot of time playing guitar riffs. I mean, I never hear rock stars, as somebody who writes with them often, talk about, I gotta go practice. They're gonna go have a business meeting. They're gonna go talk about what merch is gonna sell. I know that's boring. I know it's not romantic, but songs just come. I'll be at the grocery store looking at a box of Rice Krispies and the song is gonna come. So I just have to put it in voice notes and make sure I revisit it. I don't have to necessarily schedule disciplined time for that, but the song's not going to live if I don't discipline the other part of it. So for me, you're 100% right. It's discipline and you are your own boss. There aren't any deadlines. No one's going to write you up if you're late except you. So you got to strategize that in whatever way. There's lots of time management tools, accountability partners. I mean, my bass player sends text messages to our drummer like every day. I think there's scheduled text messages so that he'll get up at 8 a.m., right? Like whatever works. But I think that's like, again, making sure you have the right people around you and you have to create the discipline for sure.
That's a great gem. I feel like you said creative time is protected and scheduling protects time. That is such a profound way to look at how self-control and discipline is even taken on. Because when I think of I'm living the rockstar lifestyle, I'm living the artist lifestyle, it sounds more like a dream where you're doing what you want to do, quote unquote. But I mean, it is what you want to do. You're scheduling it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, want to mature with you. And it sounds like you've been through a lot of that growing season.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the conversations I have the most often with young artists. We finished a record. We're really proud of the songs. And now we're starting to talk about, okay, what does touring look like? I'm not going on the road with you, but here's what I can tell you. This is what you're going to expect. And what I'm going to tell you is it's not what you think it's going to be. Also, hush. Like, be quiet, stop talking, because you're going to be talking more than you've ever talked in your life when you're on the road, right? You're giving interviews. The minute you get off the bus, you're on stage for 2 hours. You're going to lose your voice. You're going to lose your energy. You have to protect your energy. There's a million ways where what people expect the life to be isn't what it is. And so much of it is protecting your time, protecting your energy. Energy is your most profound resource. So you got to protect both of those things. And somewhere in there, if you've already developed these other skills, the songwriting and the art will come, and it will come out of these experiences because you're protecting your energy. That's usually already happening. So you're going to schedule studio time and you're going to go take care of it then. You're not going to blend those two. I've never seen it work. Those things get messy. And it might work for a season, might work for a year, might work for 2 years, but you're going to get burnout, which is where you see these bands get so much traction. And then all of a sudden they have to disappear for 3 years because they burnt themselves out. The ones that have the long-term trajectory are the ones that protect their energy. They slow drip their creativity. They protect their time. They also hush on tour. Those are the ones that don't lose their voices on those last 3 shows.
One thing that I've learned throughout this interview is that you're someone that's very intentional. When did that become a thing, or has that always been who you are?
I think it's definitely an inherent part of growing up in a chaotic situation. I think it's also a lot of being a woman in an industry that didn't always make space for me. As weird as that sounds, I'll expand on that. But I also think it's being a Capricorn. I'm aggressively a Capricorn, so I don't want to diminish that part of it. But what I've learned about myself very recently, I'm actually writing a book about this because this was a profound shift for me in the last year, particularly for women. Many of us come up in any sort of male-dominated industry in survival mode. And survival mode in women, I think it shows up the same in men. I think it makes us alphas. I think it makes us very direct communicators. I think it makes us really good at compartmentalizing. It makes us really good at appearing very boundaried while we don't have any boundaries. And I think that unfortunately, particularly for women, it works. Being in survival mode and those behaviors often make us very successful, except it doesn't teach you what to do after you're done surviving. So I hit this point in my mid 30s where on paper, everything was phenomenal. I had worked with my dream collaborators. I was finally making a ton of money. I bought my dream house on my dream acreage. I could say, no, I bought a house in Northern Ireland, right? Like all these things were working, but mentally I was a disaster show. And it was because all of these things had happened out of these behaviors that were keeping me in survival mode. So I think that the highly regimented behavior pattern came from, I'm going to control everything in my life, which is very helpful. But what I have learned, especially in the last couple of years, which is in part why I feel ready to be more visible, is I actually don't have to control all these outcomes. I just can control myself and my own output, and the rest of it doesn't matter. The outside validation matters far less to me than it has ever mattered. And I think that's the difference between that behavior being healthy and being unhealthy.
You did mention your book, you're writing So We Never Finished the Record.
Yeah.
Phenomenal name, by the way.
I know everyone loves the title. I'm happy.
It leads us to think about, okay, you're working on something and you're living in a story that you know is not finished yet. Why, at this part of your story, why write about it now?
It's such a great question. So it's because of this whole journey, right? Part of the big story of my life, I think, really has been carrying grief far longer than I should have, and thinking that was something somebody was going to give me a medal for, like at the end of the day, thinking that giving other people a voice instead of giving myself the space to have a voice was going to fix all of those things that I hadn't fixed because of grief, right? So I think creatively, as a human, as a business leader, as a woman in an industry that often doesn't talk about these sort of things, even the men in our industry don't often talk about the challenges as openly as we do behind closed doors, right? Musicians amongst themselves, we talk about these things all the time, but you don't see it on platforms for the younger artists or the up and coming artists to consume, I think, the way that we should. The book came out of this huge catharsis of 2 years, realizing, oh my gosh, while all of these behaviors worked, and while, again, I've been incredibly successful and very fortunate behind the scenes, what does that actually mean for me as a human being? And how does that inform if I've been in alignment with what success actually looks like? And also, you can be wildly successful and still be a mess. A lot of us don't know that. I didn't know that. And I think that's the message that I want other people to have, particularly creatives. You can check all the boxes and you can still be a wreck. And that's okay. You get to be a wreck. If that's what you need to be in life for a minute, go be a wreck, please. Don't try to fix it, if that makes sense. Like, go fix it, go to therapy and take care of yourself. But you don't have to pretend, and you don't have to think of yourself less worthy because you've put all of your energy into this one thing and it didn't shift what's out of alignment inside of you. You also get to be wrong about what's out of alignment. Life is about learning these things. Life is about being in the messy middle. So We Never Finished the Record is sort of about the milestones of me figuring out that things weren't in alignment. It's a book about failure. It's about the projects I had to walk away from. It's about the partnerships that didn't work. It's about growing up. And I think so many of us get so stuck on the arriving as opposed to just letting ourselves enjoy it when we get there. So that's the season that I'm in right now, not just as a person, but as a writer. I have a new record coming out. And even right now, I'm like, well, what am I going to do next? And should I start writing for the next record? And blah, 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 blah. And I'm still having to, just let the record be out. It's not even out yet. Like, let's just take a pause here. So I think for me right now, it's really just about how do I give other people permission to celebrate exactly where they are now, to be able to look back even at the icky parts and say, you know what, I needed that icky part, because we all do.
While writing a memoir, you have to go back and revisit a lot of things that happened in your life. As revisiting them made any changes or a light bulb moment of, oh,
yeah, it sucked. I'll be honest with you. Yeah. There's some really, yeah. I had to dredge some stuff up for sure. I went no contact with my mom as a result of just the dredging up of things and the sort of reevaluating things and realizing where you are overgiving, realizing where you've maybe given too much grace or where you're being asked to perform a version of yourself that you actually aren't. There's a lot of things. Changed a lot of relationships in my life, not just the one with my mom. It changed my relationship with myself for sure. That's sort of like the negative side of it. But what's been really fun is actually been writing the characters of my collaborators and the mentors that I've had in my life, and just sort of being able to realize how important that community really was, and also how completely insane these people are. Just the pause of, I cannot believe you said that to me. Like, there's just so many great quotes that I still remember from being 18 that I wrote down going through notes. Like, I can't, what in the world was this about? So it's both sides, right? Realizing that there's this incredible community. And also, I think when we give ourselves permission to reflect and acknowledge messiness and how boundaries have shifted, or what was contributing to success or what wasn't contributing to success. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend writing memoir unless you're ready to have a therapist on call, for sure.
There's a level of like yourself that you share when you're writing music, and it seems like there's a whole new level of yourself that you're sharing when you're writing a book. For you, is there a difference in how you share yourself in these different mediums?
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's what I love about songwriting. It's reflective of my career, right? You get to hide. Songwriting lets you hide behind a metaphor. Songwriting lets you hide behind the sparsity of your language, right? It's poetry. It's how do I say as much as I can with as few words as possible? I haven't done my job if somebody sees me in a song. I need them to see themselves in a song. That's a different way of writing than memoir writing. I think when you're writing a memoir, it's not that I don't want people to see themselves, right? That's ultimately how people connect, but it's so much more specific and there's nowhere to hide. That's terrifying for somebody like me, right? And I started writing this kind of right at the same point that my producer was like, hey, you actually have to post on Instagram. You have singles coming out. You have to do so. It was a lot at once around visibility and sort of challenging my level of comfort with being visible, and putting my name on a situation or putting my name on a brand was sort of the same thing. It was definitely taking that wall between me and just anybody else down, which kind of ties back into that other conversation about survival rates. It's challenging my innate need to control somebody else's perception of me or control their version of me, and really that second level of having to let that go.
Everything you're saying is huge, and a lot of people need to understand the way you have to live in this space if you want to be successful is just genuinely being yourself. And
You do.
I think too many creators, artists, and authors take the approach of, yeah, I'm too cool for school. I'm just
Sure.
going to do what I think looks cool. But being an artist, you have to portray the art. So I'm just thankful that you're saying all the things that people need to know.
I appreciate that. I don't know. I mean, you guys are obviously out there and visible too, particularly in social spaces. I find these conversations on both sides of the AI debate fascinating, particularly the way they come across on social media. And I saw someone a couple days ago complaining. He goes, I don't know if you guys, why are you guys are so cringe. This whole don't show the work, show you working. That's so cringe. And I kind of got what he was saying. He was like, I'm a painter. I don't want to have to show you. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not giving you a podcast on how to paint. I'm not doing a TED talk here. But then all these other people just jumped on this poor guy going, what do you mean? Like, I have to do this because I'm trying to get space on Instagram. I'm trying to get TikTok to pick me up. I'm trying to get the algorithm. Like, I'm sorry that you think it's cringe, or I'm sorry that you find what I'm doing is cringe, right? And both sides are so valid. But I just couldn't help but think of the AI part of this, where it's like, I think the more human that you can be, the more that you can show the process while it might feel cringe. I think that's really important right now. So I think to your point, I'm working with a couple bands right now that they are very cool. They're really cool guys. They got a cool sound. They're dark alternative. And the conversation they always have with me is, well, Alynn, I'm not supposed to show my face. We don't show our faces in this genre. Okay, well, then no one's gonna engage with you. Like, and that's okay. There might be a way outside of social media for you to get some traction, but if you don't show that you're human, you're not giving anybody a chance to be in. So whatever that looks like for that genre, I don't know, or for that particular band, we're working on that. But I appreciate what you're saying. I'm in it too. And I think it's that fine line between I'm giving you a product, this is art, this is music, this is whatever this is, in a medium that requires you to see my humanity. But I think good art should inherently do that. So I don't know why it's so hard.
I definitely have to say the stock price for humanity is definitely going up as the AI,
That's
develops.
a great way to phrase it. Yeah.
People are looking for human interaction because we don't have it in person anymore, really.
Yes.
Like we
Yeah.
live in buildings with thousands of people. We walk across tens of thousands of people. We could live in a city a day. And it's like, no matter how physically close you are to a person, I don't have any humanity throughout my hours of the day. So
Right.
we go on technology looking for humanity, not really looking for more tech. So I can also understand why people are like, this is how I want to express my humanity in this way. But you need human qualities to attach to that humanness that I think
Yeah.
nowadays.
And I also think there's an inherent, I think we all have this. Otherwise, really great hip hop and really great punk rock wouldn't exist. I think there's an inherent pushback against anything that's too polished because I think that projects something to us. I think it inherently really polished anything just goes, well, screw you. Well, you think you're better than me? The band I think of immediately, it's an old reference, but when I think of like old U2 versus new U2, new U2 is so cringy because it's so polished. Old U2, he's got his heart on his sleeve. Like that's the difference for me. And when I think of AI, or when I even think of just the too cool for school creators, they lose me because it's too polished. And it's like, well, who do you think you are? I want to hear the bad note. I want to see the cringy video of you walking through the mall, lip syncing your own song. I want to see that. I want to see you be a little uncomfortable. I want to see you get heckled and how you handle that. It's not Schadenfreude. It's not because I want to see you be uncomfortable. It's because I want to see myself and I want permission, like you just said, right? I think in a world where everything's so consumer based and we're being sold a version of ourselves and you're being sold a wellness product every 5 minutes, or you're being sold, this is what your life would look like. If you had your ducks in a row, your life should be perfect and this is what it's going to look like. I think it's a real breath of fresh air to be reminded that actually we're all people and we're all just doing our best. And sometimes our best sucks. And that's fine.
And that's the best part too. The losses and the parts that you show up and it's, oh shoot, I got two right shoes on.
Right.
Those are the moments that make the whole thing better.
Totally. If you're not laughing because something was uncomfortable or something was hilarious or whatever, then what's the point? Like, I don't understand. It would definitely not be authentic to me to be polished. I think there's a reason why, just even out of the gate, people resonate with that. To your point, I think it's because the stock price has gone up. And I think the more that AI takes over, I think the more that artists are gonna need to lean into that.
It's fun to think about what we did back in the day and laugh about it because it makes sense to me why I did it back then, but I have more understanding now. What was something for you in your journey that made no sense while you're going through it, but now it makes sense and you can be like, oh, okay.
Oh God, so many things, especially when I was young, especially when I was performing. My whole mindset was cringe. It literally was just like, I'm gonna go in here and make these people so uncomfortable. It was so punk. It wasn't even like cool or intentional. And it was not about the music. It was just, I'm gonna go in here and just upset these people with the loudest guitar and the loudest band. And I'm gonna make Courtney Love look tame. Was like how I thought about my image or what I thought was cool. That's so cringe now because what I was doing was I was pushing everything away. I was pushing authenticity away. I was trying to make more barriers between me and an audience. I get why I was doing it because inherently I sort of thought that would get attention, and it did, but I didn't even know what attention meant. I didn't know why I wanted that attention. I just sort of knew that attention made me feel insecure, so I'm gonna be contrarian and push it away before I can even get it. You guys are gonna hate me anyway, so I'll just make you hate me. I definitely went through that. I think as a songwriter, I think the cringiest thing I was doing was, this is gonna sound weird, but I think not listening to the person who I was writing the song for. And what I sort of mean by that was I was so focused on my own story that I couldn't hear somebody else's story as a songwriter. And in retrospect, like, God, I really should have listened more. It probably wouldn't have taken me 10 years to write really good songs if I had just shut up and listened and served the song instead of serving my perception of what the song should be, trying to control what the final outcome was, getting sort of butthurt when we'd write a folk song and it would turn into an alt country song. That's pretty cringe in retrospect.
So we usually do a speed round of random questions. You ready for it?
Yeah.
All right, first one. If you could be an animal, what animal would you be?
I initially went to orca, but with all the mercury in the water, maybe not. But my gut went there. I'm going to say an orca for sure.
Okay. Favorite gas station snack?
White cheddar cheese popcorn.
Favorite drink?
Alcoholic or otherwise?
Whatever.
Coffee, flat whites, and old fashions.
Song currently on repeat right now?
Ooh, Chance Pina, song from yesterday.
Morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Sweet or salty?
Salty.
Window seat or aisle seat?
Aisle. I have a terrible fear of heights. I hate flying, only because the heights.
Okay, so then I probably know the answers to this one. Beach trip or mountain trip?
Oh, definitely mountain. I hate the heat. Yeah. I'm a mountain girl for sure. But as long as I don't have to look down, as long as there's not an edge, I'm good.
Coffee shop or diner?
Coffee shop.
Rainy day or sunny day?
Rainy.
Favorite season?
This is going to sound very counterintuitive, but summer.
Vinyl, CD, or playlist?
Playlist.
Acoustic version or full band version?
Acoustic version, always. You can always hear the mistakes. Yes.
Long drive or long walk?
Long drive.
Movie theater or watching movies at home?
Movie theater.
And now that we got you a little off game, what still doesn't make sense today in your career, in your life, in your journey?
That's easy because I think about it all the time. It's how do I stay comfortable in the becoming? Yeah, it's not taking a hard left because things aren't happening fast enough or because things aren't happening the way that I thought they were going to happen. Not being knee-jerk and reactionary, just letting it be is very hard for me.
It's been a fantastic time talking to you, and
Thanks.
for the way you've been giving us a lot of gems, a lot of great sayings, and we just appreciate you sharing your experience and being so open and vulnerable with us and watching.
No, hey, anytime I can just talk through it helps me. So I appreciate you listening, and I'm glad it was valuable.
Where can people listening and watching, where can they find you? What are your social?
I'm on all the streaming platforms, Alynn Naylor. I'm on Instagram under just call me Naylor, only because my first name scares people. So it's just call me _Naylor. My book will be out at the end of the year. I'm drip dropping singles as they're ready. I've got one coming out at the end of the month. I've also got a live from the BBC version of a song that we just played and performed that went over so well in the UK. And we're going to release that at the end of the month. Full record should be out by the end of July. So lots going on. I'll be on tour mostly in the UK, Australia, and New Zealand in the fall. And then we'll be doing a full US tour at the beginning of next year. So I'll be around, but I'm waiting for more people to tell me where to go, particularly in the US. So if someone hears this and needs a show, even if it's a house show, DM me. I'm ready.
When people look back at your story years from now, what do you want them to think?
I hope more than anything that I give permission to people to just be themselves. Not permission to be like me, but just permission to just do them. Even if that means being messy, even if that means being silly, or even if that means the opposite. But I just hope people see the A to B and they go, you know what? She can do that, then I can be me and I can be vulnerable and I can have a conversation about what's hard and I can have a conversation about what works. That's what I want for everybody.
What would you say to an artist that's trying to get into the industry and was just beginning their journey?
I would say have 10 really good songs that they think are really good. I don't care what anyone else says. 10 that you think are really, really good. Start by releasing one. Build a brand, do the Instagram thing, do the TikTok thing, drip songs out. Make that 10 songs last 10 months so that you have the opportunity to build an audience slowly. Build your audience. Don't worry about booking shows. Don't worry about all of that other stuff. Don't go get merch made. Don't invest until you start building an audience. And then write a smart plan. Write a smart statement. Where do I want to be in a year? What does success look like? Build your milestones, then release a whole record. Then start booking shows. Give yourself that year runway. Also, you can keep your 9 to 5 doing that too, which is really helpful. Don't quit your job until you have a solid monetary stream. Too many people quit that 9 to 5 way too soon. That extra 40 hours a week doesn't make you more productive. You're not going to write 30 more songs. And even if you do, who cares? You don't need 30 more songs. You need 10 good ones that you can then go market and play in front of people. So don't quit your job. Go slow. drip them on socials, drip them on streaming services, and write a damn smart plan. No one talks about this, right? It's kind of what we're talking about. This is not the conversation that anyone's comfortable having. When people start to quit, it's because they think it's not working. But usually it's like right before it's going to work. So how about you talk about it instead of quit, right?